Welcome, welcome to the first ever Mysterialis ghost hunting experiment, equipment experiment number one. I only use the word ghost hunting for keyword search reasons. I'm not hunting anything. I'm quite frankly just detecting, ghost detecting. I can't hear myself. If anyone can see this, let me know. I accidentally had to use a different route. Supposedly we are live. One person watching. Can you please share the URL? I'm extremely ignorant to this brand new process. Okay, is this it? Okay, let me share this on Twitter. No. I'm going to be sharing this link on Twitter. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to take a few minutes to get set up here. Okay. A lot of things going wrong. No big deal. Okay, I just tweeted out the new link. Let me get rid of that old link. And the new link should be to this video right here. I thank you for your patience. I thank you for watching. 6 people watching. Welcome. If there's a way for me to share my screen, I tried to do a Google Hangout and it wouldn't allow me on this account to do it for some reason or another. I don't know if I can share my screen. I had an intro ready to go and everything. So I am going to have to move a little bit and adjust the camera a little bit. Can you hear me? Am I loud enough? Does the microphone on this thing, does it pick up my voice decently? Let me know, because I couldn't use my really nice microphone because I'm going to have to move the laptop around a little bit to go from point A to point B to show that there's no one here helping me. Coming in pretty clear. All right. So I got a new clock. It's approximately 8:05 p.m. in California, Pacific time. Just trying to make it more visible to see that clock so I don't have to scour the place to timestamp it. I can simply take a look at this live clock, which is accurate to a few seconds off. I have an intro ready. Is there a way that I can? Let me just turn on the devices. I'm going to be turning on all of the devices. And we're going to have to turn on the cameras. I have 3 cameras pointed at really close range on these devices. I haven't turned any of them on because I don't turn on my devices unless the camera is rolling. If the camera's not rolling and something crazy happens, no one's going to believe it. I want to document it. The spirits, if they want to set something off, it's a lot better if it's on camera, obviously. All right. Thank you for checking this out. All right, let me just turn on these cameras real quick. I don't know if you want to watch the turning on of the camera process, but I'll be right back. There's some focusing issues going on. I'm just trying to focus the camera. Okay. Camera number 2 is on, and it is focused. So I will be turning on these devices in this corner right now. We have the EDI device, has a geophone like a tremor device. This is the temperature, supposedly. Every temperature device is going to be different from device to device. But if the temperature dramatically fluctuates, these red lights go off. It does make a beep, and it does have an EMF sensor. It's a really professional grade device. Hopefully it's visible. Okay. This is a brand new ePod I just picked up. You just flip the switch, you raise the antenna, and it supposedly picks up negative static electricity or something to that effect. So it doesn't pick up human static electricity as much as supposedly spirit static electricity, but I've never used it. It's brand new. So if that goes off, it's really close range. And there's no way I could set it off from here. I don't have any secret devices. Here's just the standard EMF meter. I used this recently at a haunted antique store. And I did get a reading on the upstairs area where supposedly chairs move into the middle aisle overnight. And they have to fix it every day, supposedly. I didn't know that story until after I recorded a spike and an unusual sound. I can't share my screen. If there's a way to share my screen using Google or YouTube Live, let me know. Not sure if it's possible. This does make a noise when it's set off. I will leave the speaker on. Well, when I was at the antique store, I turned it off because I didn't want to annoy the other customers. But they advertise it. I'll show you the ad right here. They supposedly have a commercial, and even their flyers say right here, the haunted antique mall. So they advertise it as haunted. They boast about it. And I picked up a reading near a small chair made out of wood with kind of like wicker padding. And I got that spike twice, once off camera, then I turned on my GoPro and I got it again. And during the spike, I didn't notice any sound. But on the playback, I heard what I believe is EVP. But it doesn't sound like a voice. It sounds like, ooh, sounds like an energy that I didn't, sounds like a generic energy sound that I didn't create, and this device is really annoying. This device goes beep, beep, beep. It doesn't sound anything like that. So I gotta make sure it's the right setting. Okay, that's the right setting. It turns red and it beeps when EMF. Some of the devices might conflict with each other, most definitely. So some of the devices you can't put right next to each other. I've noticed that. I've noticed that already. Okay, let's see. We need to make sure they're all visible. It's kind of annoying. It's kind of annoying. I don't know where I'm going to put this, but I got to turn everything on. This device is actually already on. It does have a new battery. Oh, that's not a new battery. Okay, let me put a new battery in here real quick. All of these devices do have let's get that away from there. It might be affecting it. All I can say is if that's going off, it could be a spirit right now already. I'm pretty sure the spirits are really well aware of this Friday the 13th thing. Let me just tell you a story real quick. On Tuesday night, I was watching Ghost Adventures in my room, just kicking back, because I'm pretty new to the show, so I'm watching old seasons. I'm like on season 7 right now. And I heard a sound. It sounded like footprints in my room on a carpet. It sounded like bare feet on my carpet walking around. And it sounded like it materialized and just with bare feet. And it sounded like someone was browsing the objects in my room. Sounds like they were just fidgeting and touching just slightly, just little things in my room. It's kind of freaky. I got up and I said, you know what? I'm trying to sleep. Oh, actually, yeah, it was right after I watched Ghost Adventures. I was trying to sleep. I just turned out the light and I was just about to go to bed. I turned the light back on and I said, you know what? I'm trying to sleep. There's a live stream on Friday. You can choose to participate or you can choose to not participate. So in no way, shape, or form do I command any entity. It's their own free choice if they want to set that off. Not everything is on yet, so let me turn everything on. The actual experiment might not start until 8:20. We will see. This is the device that worked greatly. See, I don't know. I don't know if these things conflict. Devices can conflict. That's definitely a possibility. For example, I just saw a video showing that a walkie-talkie can set this device off. I don't own any walkie-talkies, so it's nice to know, but a walkie-talkie can set this device off. Heck, have it. You know what? I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this device. I might put it in the other corner. I don't want to affect this new one that I just got. Okay, we have this pi diode. I'm going to turn on this recorder real quick and just start recording with it. It's not the highest quality audio, but supposedly, according to the makers, it focuses on EVPs. So I'm recording right now. I'm starting the recording right now on this device right here. You can speak right into here. And I'll check out at the end of the video. I can't really check it out live with this, but supposedly you talk into that and I can hear it. Speaking of EVP devices, this is one of the best ones out there. Ghost Adventures guys use it, but they only use it in the old seasons. They focus on the Panasonic in the new seasons. But this is one of the Sonys that they used back in the earlier seasons. It works great. Let me show you this device, show you how it works. Finishing putting a new battery in this device. And these often go all the way to the edge, and they definitely get set off. And I just don't like conflicting devices. So this is the setup so far. If anything is not visible, let me know. I don't have much time to even read the chat right now. Yeah, here's my EVP device. Let me just test it out. The guy on Ghost Adventures, Zach Bagans, he plays it back live minutes after he records it. For example, I guess we can start session number 1. I've never done an EVP session. Just testing it out. Let me turn it on. This is an old Sony low-quality mono digital recorder. You think it'd be low quality and bad for voices, but the thing is, the new quality recorders, speaking of recorders, I have not turned on my lapel mic. See, I got a lot of stuff. I took off my jacket because it's too hot. And you know what? I need to turn off the fan because it's conflicting with everything. The fan has to be turned off. I'll be right back. Okay, so this setup is pretty good. Nothing too extreme, nothing too over the top. But we have another setup over here. I'm going to be picking up the laptop, taking it over here, and showing you the other setup on top of my turntable, where an entity most definitely has been sitting down on a regular basis, creaking my turntable. When you hear loud creaks in the structure of the walls of a house, most definitely it can be a settling old house. But when you hear a loud creak on an object where there shouldn't be any loud creaks, there's a huge chance it's a spirit making that noise. Spirit creaks are very distinguishable when you've heard them a bunch of times. Okay, I just got to record for the camera my audio. I'm going to be turning this into an actual episode, and the highlights, the best parts. I want to not see that time. All right. So I'm recording my voice. Hopefully this doesn't get messed up. I'm going to have to put my jacket on. I'm going to turn this off if I don't put it in my jacket. Okay, so let me just real quick give you an example of an EVP session. I've never done one before. This is brand new to me. We will see what happens. Okay, EVP session number 1, Friday the 13th at 8:21 and 22. 8:21 and what is it, 28 seconds. You stamp it with something that can't be altered, and then you play it back, but you give a pause. I'm going to pause for 10 seconds. Any spirit can speak into that recorder. Hopefully we'll pick up something. Hopefully there's no disturbances from any other sources, but I've informed anyone within the area there is a live stream going on and not to disturb it. So I click stop. I play it back. Okay, EVP session number 1, Friday the 13th at 8:21 and 22. 8:21 and what is it, 28 seconds. You stamp it with something that can't be altered, and then you play it back, but you give a pause. So I'm going to pause for 10 seconds. Any spirit can speak into that recorder. Hopefully we'll pick up something. Hopefully there's no disturbances from any other sources. So that's an example. Obviously no spirit voices. That was my first try. And I'm not too surprised. It's just my first try. Going to erase that, but you know what? I'm going to give the spirit an opportunity to speak into this. So I'm just going to leave this recorder. I'm going to leave the recorder right there. It's 8:23 and 38 seconds. I don't know if I set that off on accident, but I have another recorder. I just got this today. It's brand new. It's possibly my favorite EVP recorder ever. Another old Sony recorder. And this one's in stereo. Stereo, obviously, the two microphones, and the quality is a lot better. But it's also bad. It's a bad quality, but bad quality is good quality for an EVP. You want those background noises. Some spirits can only say very quiet mumbles. A spirit trying to talk to us is like someone at the bottom of a pool trying to yell at you. You can sort of hear something, but unless you're listening for it, you're not even going to know and hear it. I have some analogies, but let me set up and turn on all the equipment first. Let me just do one really quick session with this one. I've never used this one. It's brand new. I just got it in the mail today. Okay, let me turn the hold off. There we go. And it wants me to set up the date. Okay. We are recording. So it is currently 8:25 and 12 seconds. If you want to say anything into this higher quality recorder, let me know, or just actually speak into these giant microphones right here. I'll give you 5 seconds to say anything in there right now. Okay, let's see what happens. This is only my second EVP I've ever attempted. Let's give it a shot. The date. Okay. We are recording. So it is currently 8:25 and 12 seconds. If you want to say anything into this higher quality recorder, let me know. Or just actually speak into these giant microphones right here. I'll give you 5 seconds to say anything in there right now. Well, I didn't hear anything. No big deal. Let's set up the other side real quick. I'm going to turn this one off. But this other recorder and this other recorder, these two recorders right here are being recorded. If you want to speak into that one or speak into this one, feel free to. There's cameras rolling. If you want to set up these devices, feel free to do so. This camera's on. Now I'm going to be turning on the camera for the other setup. Okay, come with me as I move it over here. This is a little bit inconvenient, but the fact is, these entities are obsessed with corners of rooms. They love corners of rooms. And it happened to sit on this turntable multiple times. That creak was 100% authentic. As far as the EVP, it definitely wasn't Class A. I would say Class B at best. a little muffled, a little under the bottom of the ocean type sound. But despite that, it was definitely a voice, a low baritone voice. So I'm recording with two cameras right now, this corner, and I put up my shining poster. Let me turn on this actually first. This recorder, which I have a very sensitive lapel mic connected to it. Some of these recorders last for 4 hours, some last for 2 hours. I'm sure they will last for plenty of time for this live stream. Have we made contact yet? I'd say definitely not. I'd say no. Contact is going to be something over the top. I wasn't over there and something just turned on. And I understand it's not too focused. We're not too focused. I will try to actually bring this closer to the corner so you can get a better view. But let me turn this on right now. I understand people are going to think I'm paranoid and that there are no spirits and I'm just making it up. That's not the case. There are spirits. Tuesday night, they're very active in my room. Last night, they were fairly active in my room. By fairly active, I mean they knocked on walls, they bumped things, knocked and bumped and knocked. When you hear this, you know there's a spirit in your room. At least my spirits happen to act in that way. Wow, I wonder if this battery has already died. Okay, here we go. I now have turned on this recorder. So if there are any disembodied voices or if a spirit wants to speak into this microphone right here, you can see the wire that leads up to it. It's a tiny lapel mic. It's kind of like this one, but this one's a high quality one that picks up my voice. This one's a low quality one that picks up the whole room. So it's a horrible lapel mic, but perhaps for EVPs, it's the best lapel mic there is. I was going to set up some coins. Maybe I'll do that later. Let's focus on the devices right now. Let me move these coins. Focus on the devices. Let me bring this a little bit closer. It might be a little bit difficult. It's on a wooden table thingy. I want you to get a better view of this corner. Okay, I just turned on this geophone. And the geophone, I have it on a setting where there's already a couple lights because that's a more sensitive setting. And this camera's not the best, but you can see that if something sits on it and creaks it again, even slightly, this thing will definitely pick it up and you will definitely see that something happened. Okay, we have, this is something I set up about an hour ago, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, and it's at the maximum. Before, because this is what happened. I put a brand new battery in it, brand new. Yes, it's a dollar store battery, but it's still brand new and it still works fine. I set it over there. I said, if you're ready for the experiment, put the dial up. It put it up to the maximum. People might say there's some power back there. Nothing is plugged on. This isn't plugged in. That's not plugged in. None of this is plugged in. My computer's not plugged in. Everything's all turned off. So this is on, and my hand was doing that. As you can see, it's very sensitive. And if anything happens, we will know it. Here is the second E-Pod. As far as I know, the spirits haven't played with this yet. I'm sure they're familiar with it because it's very similar to the red one. It's very loud, very annoying. I'm putting it in the corner over there. There's no way I can set it off from this distance. I have to be very close to set that off. But I want to bring this red one in if it works. There might be a battery issue. We will see what happens. So most definitely some of the devices are not compatible with each other. Okay. We want to hopefully set them up where they're compatible. We have a basic, really cheap, the dirt cheapest EMF meter that exists. I don't use it that often because it's so cheap, but it works at super close range. But the thing is, I don't think my hand is putting out EMF. So basically it's a touch. It's closer to like a touch device, but it still works for something. I'll put it right there. This is a toy, but I thought it's a pretty cool toy. Hopefully it's not. Wow. This might set that off. Okay, well, unfortunately, we can't use this. Okay, this is a static electricity plasma ball toy. And apparently, it's setting off this device over here. So we can't use it. Man, it's too bad. Even if a spirit touched this, we wouldn't see much. We would just see some minimal movement, very minimal. It was a really cheap device. It cost very low, and I thought it would be good for an experiment, but maybe some other time when I'm not using those pod devices over there. So I'm going to have to eliminate that from the experiment. Okay. Touching this might have charged me a little bit with static electricity. I'm going to stay away from those. Here is another stereo EVP device from Sony, a vintage one. I just picked it up. It's fairly rare. Let me try for one session. But really, I could tell you one thing real quick off the bat. Spirits like, I don't know, they like being entertained or something. They like a story, especially if it involves them. But you have to really set it up, and then they're going to sit and listen to that story. But I'm going to have to turn on my GoPro real quick because the GoPro has to prove that no editing is taking place. So you can see, I'm going to be taking and giving you on a little bit of a tour, but I got to turn on the GoPro real quick to make sure you don't miss any action. Okay, it's 8:36. You know what? I'm not going to do a session right now because I haven't really set it up, and the spirits, if they're here, they know that. They kind of want it to be fully set up, and I'll tell you this much. The couple times the spirits have showed up, it was on camera. It was when I told a 1-hour story, and then they showed up 45 minutes into it. They always seem to show up 45 minutes late. Fashionably late on purpose? It's hard to say. But it's 8:37 and the spirits might not show up until 9 p.m. We will see. This is Pacific time. But I'm going to give you a slight tour. And I'm going to tell you some spirit stories, some ghost stories. I already told you one vaguely. On Tuesday night, I heard footprints in my room. I heard just fidgeting. Really vague, like touching of my stuff in my room. Kind of like someone browsing a store, like, oh, that's interesting. And just touching my stuff. It was really annoying. I turned on the light. I got a drink. I came back. I said, hey, I'm trying to go to sleep. And they did leave me alone. But I informed them before they left. I said, there's a live stream on Friday night, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard. So they're fully well aware of it. Let me give you a tour. I'm going to have to unplug my laptop, but the recording will still continue, hopefully. All right. My lapel mic just got disconnected. But as you can see, here's the setup. We have quite a few things going on. We got 2 cameras shooting the devices, close range. Testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, somehow my lapel mic got disconnected. So any spirits are welcome to set off any of the devices because there's cameras rolling, but I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a tour to prove no one's in here. I have all right, I can tell you this story later. We want to set up the spirits. Okay, I have French doors. They're very loud. Even trying to open these French doors the quietest I can, it's extremely loud. So no one's going to be sneaking in here doing anything, just to let you know. All right. Here's one wall. There's nothing here. I will show you outside a little bit, just to prove there isn't any great conspiracy. Let me turn on the outside lights. Okay. So this is right here. This is the corner of my room externally. This is the outside. All right. And you go over here, you keep going. Here's my window. So this is my window. You can see a reflection of yourself in the chat off of here. And there isn't any huge power plant or anyone helping me out. The other corner of the room is over here, and there's nothing over there. But just to give you an example, I'm not going to show you my address or anything, but I just wanted to show that. Just in case anything happens. If anything extreme happens, I don't have any accomplices, except for perhaps, to a certain extent, ones that may or may not be invisible. All right. I'm not necessarily in any way, shape, or form in league with any spirits. I told them that free to participate, free to not participate. We will see what happens. Okay. I did hear a beep. Okay. We do have that going up a little bit. Some of these devices are so sensitive, we got to give it the benefit of the doubt. If I'm even remotely close to them, it could be just me setting it off. Okay, I just want to tell you a story real quick. There's a lamp right here. You might have seen it before. It's a Sputnik lamp from the 60s, 70s. And I got it in LA, really cheap, at a used furniture store. And it's one of the first things I brought here when I moved here. And see, I got to give the benefit of the doubt that maybe even touching this sets something off. When a spirit sets something off, it's obvious. It's not accidentally me getting close to it. So I'm just going to move my chair. I'm going to move my chair a little bit so I don't bump into the desk. All right. It's not the best view, but I do have a GoPro and a Sony recording this for the future. 18 people in my bedroom. Well, you know what? Are you talking about the viewers? 17 viewers. All right. I'm going to tell a story about that lamp real quick. When I first moved here, about 2012, if there's a spirit that wants to set one of those things off, feel free to do so. I will try to record. But I'm telling the story about a lamp. Unless you want to interrupt, it's no big deal. So the lamp, 2012, I bring it to this room. And within a month or so, I hear it flicked really loud. It's like a really loud metal on metal almost flick. And I know it was a spirit that flicked it. So that was 2012. That was many years ago. That was 6 years ago. So February 1st, fast forward, I'm setting up this set. I'm setting up this corners of room set here. And I'm putting up the black and white stripes. And the spirit clearly knows what I'm setting it up for, or spirits plural. I suspect there are two of them. And my lamp on February 1st squeaked very loud. And when I say squeaked, it sounded like something internally, something inside of it was purposely being squeaked. That the squeak was so loud, it was blood-curdlingly. I don't know if I can reproduce it with my voice, but let me try. It was kind of like 10 times louder than that. It was like nails on a chalkboard, very loud squeaks. Now, I assume the spirit was turning something internally. Spirits have X-ray vision. They can reach through objects and manipulate stuff and fidget inside of things. And 4 times very loud on February 1st. As I was setting up this wallpaper that I made myself, I heard 4 squeaks. And on February 2nd, as I was actually in the corner, because at the time I heard the 4 squeaks, I was over near my bed. So I heard it closer to the direction of the corner. On February 2nd, I was finishing up taping the paper stripes to the wall. And I moved the lamp to the middle of the room, and I moved all that stuff to the middle. And I was actually in the corner taping the final stripes. And I heard the squeak again, just one time on February 2nd. I heard really loud. So the poltergeist was using its ability to move objects to its fullest potential because it sounded like nails on a chalkboard. Very obvious. I turned around and I was like, thanks a lot. But as far as Tuesday night, I heard footprints in my room. I heard something touching my keyboard table. I heard something touching just random objects in my room. And that something was a spirit. And that spirit is free to set off any of these devices. I can see that that device is going up. But that's not too great. Can you set off any of the... because that thing can residually build static up. There's most definitely no doubt about it. I'm not going to deny that fact. But it'd be really nice if you could set off any of those ghost pods, or the ghost pod in that corner, the E pod. Man. All right, it is 8:47, usually about the time the spirits show up. I'm just going to do a random EVP session, see what happens. If nothing happens, you got to understand, during ghost detecting experiment number 1, I was talking about a live stream potentially in the future. And this was back in March, I think. I'm assuming this like on March 4th. So this is a while ago. This was over a month ago. And I mentioned a live stream, and the spirit set off this device right there. And I was like, oh, you want a live stream, huh? Unless it wasn't talking about a live stream. But I'm going to be doing an EVP session right now let's see if we can record the voice of a spirit. I'm going to be silent for 10 seconds. I forgot to do a timestamp. It is 8:48 and 28 seconds. So 10 seconds of silence. Okay, so let me read the live chat. About a live stream, but I'm going to be doing an EVP session right now. Let's see if we can record the voice of a spirit. I'm going to be silent for 10 seconds. I forgot to do a timestamp. It is 8:48 and 28 seconds, so 10 seconds of silence. Well, nothing obvious yet. Nothing obvious yet. Man, these devices are very sensitive. I just barely put my hand over here. And it goes off. All right. I guess I can enhance some of the audio of some of the attempted EVP sessions, but it's really nice to show it back live if anything does happen. Let me try it one more time with this one. Then we're going to switch to that corner, and I'm going to start telling stories, hopefully getting the attention of the spirits. The spirits almost want to set off devices if they're entertained. If they're not entertained, they're like, this is boring. I'm going to go check out another show of watching humans for entertainment value. I don't know how they think, but I have to admit, they're not going to want to stick around for something boring. But here it is, Friday the 13th. You guys wanted to set stuff off. This has gone up, and the other one has gone up. But I have to admit, unless it goes up really quick and really fast, it's hard to say. So let me just reset that real quick. I'm resetting that to 0. So you can see, actually you can't even see with this camera. Give you a little bit better view of what's going on here. I reset that to 0. Here is that. It would be interesting if you could set something off, spirits. It's like, man, I swear, if the spirits don't set anything off, I have to admit, me wanting to do future live streams concerning this subject are going to be slim to none. Because if the spirits don't show up, it's going to be because they're going to be inclined to want people to think I'm crazy. I know for a fact there was a spirit in my room on Tuesday night and last night, February 1st, February 2nd. I could go on and on. I'm starting to pinpoint exact dates and exact times because when you repeat those exact stories, a spirit recognizes the truth of it, and sometimes they show up just to listen to them stories about themselves. Let's go on over to the other corner. This device is either too sensitive or it's a spirit. Let's hope it's a spirit. Let me make sure I'm far enough away. Okay, I've been recording this for a while, but I'm just going to start from scratch. Is there a spirit here? You can talk into this recorder. You can set off any of these devices. I'm going to reset this to 0. I've reset that to 0. I'm going to show you a little better view what's going on. Other than the device I reset to 0, everything's pretty much standard. I know it's kind of bright, kind of hard to see some of them, but it says 0. But I am recording. Let me stop this real quick. It's 8:53 and 38 seconds. If any spirit would like to communicate, feel free to set off any of these devices, either in this corner or the other corner. And I'm going to try to record your voice on this device right here. It's 8:53 and 38 seconds. If any spirit would like to communicate, feel free to set off any of these devices, either in this corner or the other corner. I'm going to try to record your voice on this device right here. Okay. Most definitely. I don't hear too much, but let's just talk about the stories I was planning on talking about. I did hear a vague creak in that other corner, but it was so subtle that perhaps it was nothing. I'll listen. I'll keep my ears open. If I hear another creak over there, we're going to switch to over there. It's a little bit hot in here because I turned off my fan. I don't know what the temperature is where you live, but it's really hot. Yeah, I didn't hear anything. I can go back and listen to it later. All right, intro video. I can't play the intro video as far as I know. Yeah, I'm trying to get activity. One of the ways you can get activity is to really start to talk about spiritual things, especially things that actually happened, not fictional stories. I don't think spirits are too interested in fictional stories. They're interested in actual spiritual stories, especially involving them, so they can listen. So let's see. Disclaimer. I purchased a huge amount of occult books, all right? For the singular purpose, I purchased all these occult books. Every single one of these is an occult book. For the singular purpose of answering the question of the spirit, actual ghost, positive, negative, mostly negative encounters I had in the year 2010, 2011. Every single book purchased here was purchased between the years of 2013 up until now. I didn't purchase anything in 2011 or 2012 that I remember. Maybe I bought one book in 2013. 2014, I might have bought 10 books. 2015, I probably bought 20, 30, 40 books. 2016, 17, 18, I bought too many books. So I started to get rid of my bad ones and hone my collection down to the best ones. And out of every single occult book I've ever purchased, I think only one singular book might have been haunted. No activity increasing by the purchasing of all these occult books. Not a single smidge, except for one book, which was particularly dark, and I didn't even read it at the time. I kind of bought it because it was a good deal. I was planning on reselling it. I held on to that book for about 1 year, but I noticed exactly the location of that book on this bookshelf right here. I had it right here. It was in a velvet case, and I had some plastic on top of it, and I was keeping it for resale pretty much. And this bookcase would creak very loudly, only exactly where that book was, very loudly on a regular basis. The second I sold that book, the creaking stopped. So I'd say if I've ever owned a book that's so dangerous, it causes stuff like that, it would have been that book, and it's gone. And the first ghost hunting piece of device I purchased only a few months ago brought the spirits here a millionfold on top of that one occult book. One piece of harmless ghost hunting equipment, that red and black ghost pod, or it's really a REM pod. It's either a knockoff REM pod or a really early model of a REM pod. And that REM pod most definitely brought 10, if not 100 times more activity than any of these books ever did. I read the books for information. I don't practice any rituals in any way, shape, or form. But I have found tiny, subtle little things. What book? Well, I don't want to advertise what book it is because it's a pretty bad, pretty negative book. Okay, I'll share the book because I repurchased the book. The book that was haunted, it smelled like incense. You could smell incense on it. So it was clearly practiced with by a practitioner of magic. You could smell the incense, the bag, and the pages, and the leather binding. It was saturated. I literally had to air out the book for a year straight and then switch the bag with a new bag, which I had to get at great expense, just so I could disguise and hide, and hopefully the new purchaser wouldn't notice too much of the smell. I said it was used, but I didn't mention the heavy smell. But after a year, it did air out, but it was haunted. This is the book. I repurchased a brand new one. This is a brand new one. So this one's not haunted. It's never been used. And I don't advertise it. Don't buy it. I purchased this book just to learn a few things. And to be honest, there aren't too many secrets in here. It's a really, really bad book of a really negative subject. It's called Necromantic Sorcery. Don't check it out. Not a good idea. But the new version, never practiced with, not haunted. So yeah, books, I guess, can be haunted. So let me get back to my notes. I did have some plans, but I have to go around them a little bit. Friday the 13th, a lot of superstitions. A lot of people will say, you know, that's going off slightly. I'm not sure if it's working or if it's me being too close to it. If there's a spirit here, can you set off that device a little bit stronger? A little bit stronger. It's 9:02 p.m. Almost when I move my chair, it goes off. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it behind the recorder. It's a little possibly too close to me. Okay, I just think that device possibly was a little bit too close to me. It might be a little bit too sensitive. Now when I'm moving my chair, there doesn't seem to be any problems. So, disclaimer, don't buy ghost hunting equipment. Potentially, perhaps. Let's just put it this way. It's kind of like a digital Ouija board. Just have to make sure these things are spaced out because perhaps they were conflicting there for a second. If anything starts to happen, I will try to get the camera closer, but there are other cameras recording, but they're only limited time. Some of the cameras only last for an hour and a half. Hopefully we capture something. So disclaimer, don't purchase ghost hunting equipment unless you want a digital Ouija board type of experience. After the 10 experiments are over, going to be putting it in a case, probably putting it in my garage. Maybe I'll sell some of them. Maybe for rare future occasions. I did want to go out to a couple locations to detect. But if there are any spirits around here, I purchased some new devices just for you to test out and play with. I put them around the room. And it would be interesting if anything happened. So there's a guy named Elon Musk, and he thinks we're living in a computer simulation. You know, that's a very, in my opinion, that's a very cynical perspective, viewpoint. It's kind of like a new age, it's kind of like a modern version of atheism, just we're in some holographic simulation of a video game created by some superior civilization. Supposedly not even a new theory. Okay, well, I do have my phone in my pocket. I'm going to chuck my phone over here because this is going off minimally. I'm going to try an EVP session real quick. All right. One of the cameras might have turned off. Let me check that real quick. Wow. That is curious. Wow, that is interesting. What? Okay. Have it. So I had to reset my camera. I had to delete everything. Somehow it got full. So I did hear minimal beeps, very minimal. It could potentially even be a spirit trying to avoid the device. But if there is a spirit here, it's 9:07 p.m. and 44 seconds. Can you please speak into this device right here? Most definitely, I am interacting with the field a little bit. but it doesn't mean there's not a spirit on the other end interacting a little bit. Let me play that back and see if we got anything.
So I just hear minimal beeps, very minimal. It could potentially even be a spirit trying to avoid the device. But if there is a spirit here, it's 9:07 p.m. and 44 seconds. Can you please speak into this device right here?
Well, I'm not hearing anything. Let's switch on over to the other corner real quick. And I'll continue to mention these stories, as there might not be too much activity tonight. I'm actually surprised. Friday the 13th is a big superstitious holiday type event for humans where we think about this different superstitions. It's not really a holiday, just a day where we remember all the superstitions. Let's move on over to the other corner. It's possible some of these devices are a little bit too sensitive. See, this is the first time I'm using these ePods, but it's no big deal. I have purchased, or at least ordered, some, in my opinion, some amazing devices. So for some future experiments, there are going to be some really cool devices I have ordered. And this recorder is still recording. If we pick up anything, we will see what happens. Those ePods are too sensitive. Look how sensitive they are. Well, anyway, it seemed to go off a little bit. I'll do one session super quick, and then I'm going to tell a couple stories. It is currently 9:11 and 18 seconds. If there's a spirit here, I'll give you 10 seconds. Can you please just mention anything into this microphone right here? So let's take a listen.
It is currently 9:11 and 18 seconds. If there's a spirit here, I'll give you 10 seconds. Can you please just mention anything into this microphone right here?
Well, I have to admit, nothing. And most definitely, as I said, we don't know what's going to happen. It is totally the unknown. Those ePods are too sensitive. Now I know if I go on any investigations, I'm going to be putting the ePods 100 feet away from me. Because if you're even remotely 10 feet next to it and you manipulate the static electricity wave even slightly, it does seem to go off a little bit. But I'm just going to go through a couple of ideas. Let's see. Elon Musk thinks that he can somehow break the matrix, maybe hire someone to break himself out of the matrix. But the closest thing to breaking out of the matrix is realizing that spirits exist. Realizing that we are in a certain dimension. Spirits are in a certain dimension that we can't see. It's an invisible field. It's an invisible dimension, just like UV rays. speaking of UV rays, I did purchase a camera which can see full spectrum, and I purchased even some LED lights that are the UV lights and some IR lights. For actually, my Sony has a night vision feature that would work with the IR lights, but the UV lights work with the full spectrum cameras, and it takes pictures that are purple, but supposedly you could see invisible creatures hiding in corners and whatnot. And I will try to record video. It is a GoPro type device that can record in full spectrum in video. So I'm going to get a nice camera pretty soon and hopefully record a couple hours of video. I'll go through it, see if I can see any shadow people running around. That would be pretty cool. But let's see. The underwater analogy. It's hard to hear them sometimes, even if they're yelling at the top of their lungs. And we can't hear them, but they can hear us. In my opinion, spirits are invisible people in a higher dimension looking down, and they can see us. They can see X-ray vision through us. And this experiment may seem crazy to some people, all right? This might seem eccentric, might seem over the top, might seem a little bit crazy. Because who sets up ghost devices in their room, right? Who does that? First of all, I've been talking about spirits and knowing for a fact that spirits have shown themselves to me since 2010. And if I didn't at least have a couple ghost detecting experiments, I would feel like it's just words. And I have seen some of my viewers, and some of them are very skeptical. And they're like, you know what? This guy just talks. It's just words. Where's the proof? This obviously isn't proof as of yet. And it's disappointing, most definitely. But trial and error. And it is possible I did offend the spirits. During experiment number 1, I did pretty much offend, in my opinion, probably when I was like, ugh. I said, the first time it ever showed up with this device right here, I said, can't say I'm happy you're here, or something like that. And it could have permanently offended it, but it didn't offend it enough to not sit on my turntable a couple weeks later. Most definitely it did. The entity I offended, I think, is the one that walked through me one night after the 4th May. We're talking March 4th, and then March 5th it walked through me. I think it has poltergeist abilities. It sat on the turntable. It materialized itself enough to make a sound. For all I know, it's in that corner over there. So it definitely, during one of the experiments, ignored the equipment and hung out in a different corner, which is why I even put this equipment in this corner. So it's trial and error, and I'm never going to be able to strike a deal, as I said, and I might have heard this EVP incorrectly. You know, maybe it was just woo-woo. Maybe he was talking to another spirit, and I overheard a conversation. Who knows? But whatever the case, it was definitely a low tone, and it sounded like a voice to me. But I wanted to play some clips from the Antique Mall, but I don't think I can share my screen with this YouTube Live. So I apologize for that. All right, let's see. Stephen Hawking, all right. Rest in peace, Stephen Hawking. I'm a huge Stephen Hawking fan. I read one of his books, only one. I'm not going to claim to have read all of his books or anything, but I read his book that talked about time travel, and he said, at least this, I think this book is from the 80s, or maybe prior, but I'm pretty sure it's from the 80s. And he said, time travel isn't practical. Maybe it's possible, but there's a slim chance. He said it's such a slim chance We're talking 0.000 and a zero with an almost infinite number of zeros. And then he put a 1%. 0.00, almost infinite 1% chance that time travelers can come visit us. And Stephen Hawking was a very smart guy. I think everyone agrees he was a smart guy. But Stephen Hawking had a crazy experiment, which many of you might be totally familiar with. I saw it years before he passed away on like the History Channel or the Discovery Channel or something, where he had that time travel experiment. It was a crazy experiment, kind of like this crazy experiment. He put his money where his mouth was. He had a lot of champagne, a lot of hors d'oeuvres. He had tables full for an actual party for actual time travelers. He didn't just have a room with a punch bowl. He had the works. He had really nice food, really nice champagne, and he didn't put out the invitation until after the party was over to prove that if anyone showed up, they're a time traveler. He didn't leak the address to anyone, and no one showed up. 0 people showed up, 0 time travelers showed up, which proves that time travelers either don't exist, or time travelers aren't fans of Stephen Hawking, or time travelers lay low and they don't reveal themselves to anyone. But Stephen Hawking went to great lengths, crazy lengths, to prove something. And this is a similar setup of, some people will say it's crazy. I spent a great amount of money on these devices, but it doesn't mean I'm an idiot for doing so. Stephen Hawking had a crazy experiment, and he didn't necessarily prove it. Well, let's just put it this way. Science didn't exactly pay attention to that experiment. Science didn't exactly, they didn't write up a bunch of papers on, oh, time travelers don't exist. It was kind of up in the air and kind of seen as a joking thing. But I think Stephen Hawking was dead serious, and I thought it was a pretty good experiment. I thought it was a pretty good idea. No one, as far as I know, had ever had an experiment where they didn't release the date or the time and the address. There have been time travel conventions where they reveal it to everyone and a bunch of regular people show up. That's way different. But I will continue to do experiments. As far as I know, I have collected actual data. My last experiment in that corner, as far as I remember, I didn't want to really sit and talk, but I did want to record. I went to Jack in the Box. I came back. On the way back from Jack in the Box, I started to record with my phone. And I can't really play it. I don't want to play it. I don't know if there's music. I don't know if I'm listening to the radio or what, but just to prove. And I got home and I walked through the doors and everything syncs up, and I was going to show it, but I didn't want to show my front house. But I did hear pretty specific, it almost sounded like tapping on a surface in my room. We're talking 30 seconds after I closed both doors and got out of here. And then the GoPro was fidgeted with, and I saw an episode of Ghost Adventures where their camera was touched and the very same sound happened to their camera. Okay, let's see. So the chat, do you have any suggestions? Do you have any suggestions on how what we should do with this experiment? It's not necessarily not a success. I reset that camera, and at any time something can go off. At any time something can go off. I'm not really paying attention to the chat, but talking about alternate universes. I'm not too big into conspiracy theories like that. Mr. Saves. But let me set up a couple coins. Man, these coins are really tough to set up. Okay, not the best setup, but all right. So I got the pyramid there. I got a couple coins set up. It's pretty apparent that it's possible the spirits decided to boycott this event. Come on, spirits. You're willing to show yourselves on Tuesday, even a little bit last night. I'm going to reset this one. So here's the current setup. I'm going to take a couple coins on over to the other location. Camera is kind of falling on me. I do have a bunch of recorders going. I have one, two. I have two recorders going, so I will review those recorders. Hopefully we get some EVPs, but the most legit EVPs are the ones where you can review them live or on camera as they happen. So I moved the clock pretty far back, closer to the corner. Hopefully something happens. Okay, that ping pong ball is negatively charged with static electricity. But I want to put this ping pong ball somewhere. Well, put the ping pong ball right there. I got a couple coins. Okay. Okay, we have some delicately balanced coins over there. And I'll just tell some stories. Is my volume good enough? Can you guys hear me? What happened to the complete Ultima series on top of my turntable? Well, it wasn't complete. I did have to get rid of a couple of them. For example, I had to move, and I had to sell my Japanese Ultima 1 with the cloth Japanese map. That was like my ultimate piece, and I had to sell it just so I could afford to move into a new place. And it kind of sucks. I'm missing a couple pieces here and there. But it's over there. I moved it over there. My Ultima games are stacked over there. I don't know what editions I have. I have different random editions of the Ultima games because I sold a lot of my original ones, and then I had to rebuy some, and I don't care what edition it is. So let's see. Some stories I've never told. This is the last book I read. I can do a real quick book review on this book because this book sucks so bad that it doesn't necessarily suck. It is what it is. And if you're into this type of thing, you might enjoy it, but I definitely did not enjoy it because it's a book about the devil. And it's not written by these two guys. These two guys just simply put the stories together. So it's a bunch of old stories about the devil that they compiled. So North and Botel. Mr. North and Mr. Botel are huge fans of the devil, obviously, because every page in this book I've ever read, and the book is called Speak of the Devil. I picked it up because online it said it's about demonology, and I was interested, and maybe I'll finish it. I've honestly only read about 5 to 10 pages of this. I just couldn't stand it because he was so pro-devil and so anti anything that isn't pro-devil. But I did want to read something. It's from 1945. I did want to read something that kind of sums up this book a little bit. It's in chapter 1, The Smell of Sulfur. All right. Let's see. Page 2. What artist would refuse to pay the Pied Piper his pittance? All that he asks is eternal keeping of the artist's already tortured soul. So that thing is going off minimally. But I think it could be my chair. Maybe my chair is a little bit static electricity charged. So that kind of sucks. But I'm hearing minimal beeps. There's a spirit here. Can you set it off a little bit better than that? Okay, we heard a couple beeps. But can you do a better job than that? People are watching. They want to hear something louder than that. Even I could barely hear that. It's 9:33 p.m. I heard a couple beeps. If we hear any more beeps, I will try to get a recording session. I know you can set it off stronger than that. Let me just finish real quick. It's just like a paragraph. So basically, this is a story talking about musicians, and it actually applies to musicians of today. Feel free to interrupt me if you want to set off any of these devices. And if anyone notices the device is going off, feel free to post about it and let me know. But please don't talk about conspiracy theories that are unrelated to the experiment. All right, let's see. So basically, the devil has always been an accomplished musician, apparently. Is once again proved by Oscar Mann in his haunting story, The Devil in a Nunnery. And this continues, and it pretty much talks about musicians being, or specifically artists and musicians being desperate to sign a deal with the devil. But I would never sign a deal with the devil in a million years. And it's possible the entity said "you will" in that video I posted, but it's possible I misunderstood it. It sounded like "you will" to me, though. It definitely sounded like a voice. I can't even find the page. Let me see if I can find it. I am hearing minimal beeps going on. Can you set off the device stronger than that so we can hear? If you can set off the device strong, I'm going to get a recorder. You can talk into it. So can anyone hear those minimal beeps? They're not very good. I know you can do a better job than that. What I'm saying is they're minimal, and I've noticed you've been able to really set off the red one. Can you set off this new one, this ePod? All you got to do is touch the antenna. Walk through the antenna of that ePod. Can you touch it? Can you walk through it? Can you set off the lights? Can you knock over the coin? Anything. Trying to find the paragraph. I cannot find it. Oh well. Can you hear the minimal beeps? You probably can't. Let me try to give you a better sound of what's going on. The beeps aren't loud enough for the lights to go off. But this geophone is going off. Just the lowest setting. You know what? I forgot to mention. I got a pretty substantial and a very generous and a very appreciated donation. I believe it was last week, and it's extremely appreciated. And I purchased 3 new items. I purchased 2 devices which are superior, hopefully, to what I already have. And I purchased that full spectrum camera, which is a video camera, kind of like a GoPro. And you will see amazing episodes with those devices. I'm going to go to some haunted locations. I have looked it up a little bit. There is actually a haunted, it perhaps was a one-off event, but it's a church. And the priest, and this church is only a 30-minute drive from my house. I don't know how old this story is, but perhaps 30 years old, I'm not sure. So the priest is walking down the sidewalk, and he's walking into the church, and he hears someone follow him. He hears like footsteps follow him, and he doesn't think much of it. So he walks up to the gates of the church, and he's starting to walk in. Maybe he's opening up for the day. I don't know the exact details behind what happened, but he turns around to see who's following him, and he sees a goat man with hooves, an actual demon in the shape of a goat man. And I think he walks in to unlock it, and I think he turned around and it was gone. It disappeared. But that's pretty freaky, and that's only 30 minutes from my house. Pretty freaky event. Even if it's a one-off and not necessarily a haunted area, could have been following him to intimidate him, whatever the case may be. I don't even know what particular religion he was, but I do want to walk down that sidewalk and hold some devices, maybe capture something. The Ghost Adventures guys went to a place called the Slaughterhouse, which is downtown where I live. Slaughterhouse is about the same distance as that church, 30-minute drive. But the Slaughterhouse is currently closed. They only open close to Halloween. So near Halloween, I will see if they open it up for ghosts. Okay, my GoPro turned off. My GoPro is full of, that's unfortunate. The GoPro is full. And we didn't capture anything. Man. That beep was my GoPro turning off. Well, you know what? I'm going to I don't know. I kind of want to just delete what's on there and start again. But I can try for an EVP real quick. It's 9:41 p.m. and 52 seconds. If there are any entities that would like to let us know they are here, feel free to say anything into this recorder in my hand that I'm holding. I'm going to pause and give you time to speak into it. I noticed that dial moved up minimally, but it's hard to say. Let's play it back and see if we got anything.
9:41 p.m. and 52 seconds. If there are any entities that would like to let us know they are here, feel free to say anything into this recorder in my hand that I'm holding. I'm going to pause and give you time to speak into it.
Well, I didn't hear anything. This is getting a little bit annoying, I have to admit. When entities bother you Tuesday night and then Friday night they don't want to show up, it's kind of annoying, I have to admit. It's a little bit, Yes, you're lucky nothing happened. Well, I guess so. It's just people are going to think I'm crazy now. People are going to think I'm not inclined to tell the truth, but I am inclined to tell the truth. Matter of fact, I'm horrible at lying. I'd probably be horrible at playing poker. I probably have a horrible poker face. This has been going on 1 hour and 41 minutes. The spirits have been known to be fashionably late, but not this late. This is pretty late. Although 9 p.m. my time isn't too late for the spirits. The spirits in my just recently in the past couple months, I've noticed they like to show up when I turn out the light. They like to show up around 11 p.m., 12 p.m., 1 a.m. And I know the witch's hour or the devil's hour or whatever at 3 a.m. is supposed to be cliche, scary or whatever, but nah, they're usually not. I mean, it really depends. They're more active around 11, 12, 1 than they are 3. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but it's possible I will stop this live stream and start a part 2 because this is a long, long, long video. At the 2-hour mark, I'm going to be starting part 2 just because I'm curious to see why they are laying low. I'm pretty sure they have weak abilities to set off devices in the daytime. I took my ghost pod, REM pod thing out into the wilderness, put it in a tree, and it minimally set it off, just barely. But at 1 a.m. in the corner, the first time I used it ever, the first time ever turning it on, I had a camera on it, and it strongly turned it on, really strongly, really easily. Perhaps it's 2 different spirits. Maybe the one that set it off very strong is ticked off at me and mad and doesn't want to participate. It's interesting. That is interesting. Well, I don't want to appease them. I don't want to become friends with them. I just wanted to give them an opportunity to show their existence. I know they don't have too many opportunities to do that. I know they don't reveal themselves to too many people. I have an article here on my laptop. Or just a quote. I have a quote here. I have a quote here on my laptop. Let me see. Nothing's happening. I'm sure my haters are super happy. Nothing's happening. In ghost hunting, especially if it's your room, wow. You know, my room is haunted, but it's more me. I'm haunted. I'm more haunted than my room is. So, you know, I'm just curious why they're not showing up. I think they're irritated with me. I think they are bugged by me. I definitely never tried to become friends with them. That's for sure. But they have an opportunity to set off any of these devices and oh yeah, I got a quote. If I wanted to fake it, now I know. This sets off one of these devices, see? So if I wanted to fake it, but I'm not a faker, that was 100% me realizing, as you saw for the first time, that this conflicts with that. This puts out a lot of static electricity, but that's what it would sound like if an entity did set it off. But there's a quote I wanted to read, and I can't show it to you, I don't believe. But the quote says this: everybody will have different experiences with the paranormal, And after you've been doing this for so long, you're a vehicle, a known person to communicate. And once you know a lot about them, they don't leave you alone. That's by Zach Bagans of Ghost Adventures. I'm surprised that's a very deep insight. He realizes, just as I realize, that you're a known person. Once you know a lot about them, even just a little bit about them, they don't leave you alone. So that kind of shows Zach opening up a little bit. I think they haunt him. That's a side effect of being a ghost hunter. He's a professional ghost hunter, one of the top ones. And he said he brought a skull home and something tried to drag him out of bed. So he put the skull in his haunted museum. He said he brought a haunted doll home and it was very active and moved around, poltergeist activity. So he put it in his haunted museum. He said he brought something from Europe home and it was a heavy plaster thing or whatever, and it got smashed on the ground and his mom had to glue it back together. So I think that's just possibly the same entity messing with him over and over and over. Entities definitely mess with humans, and them not participating to an extent is them messing with me. Now, I can't be too mad because I never made any promises to them and they never made any promises to me. This is just their spirits. They're either here or they're not here. I can't control them. And I'm sure to a certain extent they would like to control me, but they can't control me. What do I think about Napoleon sleeping inside the pyramid? I never heard that before. I never heard that. I heard about Aleister Crowley going inside the pyramid for inspiration. Let me think. Napoleon. No, I never heard that story. But Crowley went there. I have heard other people have slept in the king's chamber or the queen's chamber, whatever the case may be, to try to get dreams. Apparently, you get some crazy dreams when you sleep in those chambers, but I think it's illegal nowadays, unless you're rich and you can really pay off the guards and the local historians and the local archaeological, the Giza Plateau director. Unless you can pay him off, I don't think you're allowed to sleep in any of those chambers nowadays. That would be interesting to test that theory out. Perhaps the pyramid shape really focuses a lot of spiritual energy or spirits or crazy dreams, whatever the case may be. You might have a flash of the future. Napoleon claims he was haunted when he slept inside there overnight. I don't doubt it. That's interesting. Thanks for sharing, Karanu. Yeah, he had dreams instead. Okay. Yeah, Crowley did a ritual. See, I'm not a fan of Crowley, so I don't even know what exact ritual he did. But yeah, I know that. Okay, I'll look that up. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I know that Crowley went to the chamber, did a ritual, went back to the hotel. His wife was possessed briefly for a few seconds and said, write down this at this time o'clock. And an entity in the corner of the room invisibly spoke to Crowley. And it spoke to Crowley in a British accent. And Crowley happened to be British. So Crowley thought, if this entity in Egypt is speaking to me in a British accent, it might be my subconscious. So that entity was playing with Crowley. But then again, that entity was probably native to following Crowley from England. So of course it would have a British accent. I don't have too much experience with disembodied voices, but I can reveal and I can admit I did hear a disembodied voice once. So I'm not crazy. See, a crazy person would hear voices all the time. I heard one voice many years ago, and EVPs, they seem to be not too uncommon, but unfortunately I can't pick one up right now. I can give it a shot. I could try it one more time. It is currently 9:54 and 8 seconds. If there are any spirits here, can you please speak into this device that I'm holding? I'm going to pause for 10 seconds, give you a chance to speak. We will see and review and see if anything's on here.
It is currently 9:54 and 8 seconds. If there are any spirits here, can you please speak into this device that I'm holding? I'm going to pause for 10 seconds, give you a chance to speak. We will see and review.
Okay. Well, I'm hearing a couple minimal beeps over here. So let's bring the setup over to this corner over here. See if we can get anything. See, there's a minimal beeps. I'm going to hold up 2 recorders at the same time. See if we can get anything. Okay, it took a while. It forced me to select a date. All right. So they're both recording. I keep hearing minimal beeps. If there's a spirit here, can you beep that device a little bit louder? I'm holding 2 recorders in my hand. Can you speak into these? I'm going to pause for 10 seconds. You can choose to speak into this one or this one, whatever, both of them, your choice. I'm going to pause for 10 seconds. It's 9:58 p.m. I'll review this and see if we got anything.
Okay, it took a while. It forced me to select a date. All right. So they're both recording. I keep hearing minimal beeps. If there's a spirit here, can you beep that device a little bit louder? I'm holding 2 recorders in my hand. Can you speak into these? I'm going to pause for 10 seconds. You can choose to speak into this one or this one, whatever, both of them, your choice. I'm going to pause for 10 seconds. It's 9:58 p.m. I'll review this and see if we got anything.
Well, I didn't hear anything, but boosted to a great extent, perhaps something would be on there. It's really hard to say.
Okay, it took a while. It forced me to select a date. All right. So they're both recording. I keep hearing minimal beeps. If there's a spirit here, can you beep that device a little bit louder? I'm holding 2 recorders in my hand. Can you speak into these? I'm going to pause for 10 seconds. You can choose to speak into this one or this one, whatever, both of them. Your choice. I'm going to pause for 10 seconds. It's 9:58 p.m.
Well, I have to say, I like the loudness of this one better. It is currently 10 p.m. I'm going to stop this stream and I'm going to start another one. I'm going to go at least for 1 more hour because personally I've noticed the spirits that hang around here anyway, they prefer 11 p.m., 12 p.m., 1 a.m. my time. And it's only 10 p.m. my time, so it's still a little bit early for these spirits from their perspective. Perhaps they're going to show up a little bit later on. Perhaps, being Friday the 13th, they are out at some spirit party where they're bothering people. I don't know, but they're definitely leaving me alone and leaving these devices alone. And I can't really apologize about that. It's a hit and miss situation. Kind of reminds me of the Ghost Adventures episodes where they don't find anything. So I really like the Ghost Adventures show. Zach Bagans, he does focus on actual evidence, but then he does have to dramatize things. Oh, I feel a little bit weird. I feel, oh, what was that? And they over dramatize it just in case they don't get too much evidence. They have to over dramatize to fill in the lack of evidence on a couple episodes here and there. But I'm never going to do that. It's really unfortunate. You know, we are seeing this device go up to the maximum. I'm going to have to end this stream, and then I'm going to be starting another one. This device does go up to the maximum. But what does that mean, you know? If it went up really fast, it would mean something. But when it goes up over a period of time, it doesn't mean as much. It's hard to say if it's the EDI device or if it's this device, but something is being touched minimally. Geophone lowest setting is beeping. I don't believe I'm setting that off, but that's not overwhelming evidence. We want these things to flash up. I have seen tons of video footage of people have full-blown conversations with spirits, but I don't want to do that. I just want to acknowledge, are there spirits here? Light off the devices if you're here. And they don't seem to want to light them off tonight. I don't know why. Friday the 13th would have been perfect fitting for that, but stay tuned. I might have to do 5 experiments, and maybe only 1 will capture anything. Maybe the 4 experiments will capture nothing. But I know for a fact that it is possible, and there aren't any rules and laws in place where the spirits can't set off these devices, or where certain spirits can't. I know for a fact certain spirits can, do, and will set off the devices. But perhaps I offended. Who knows? We don't know what the case is in this situation, but there definitely was a spirit that sat on my turntable. So I thank you for watching. I really appreciate all of your support, and I appreciate the pledges. I appreciate the Patreon patrons. I appreciate the donation I received last week. I appreciate everyone, even if you just send me $1. I'm not advertising. I just want to wrap it up and give just a summary. This is youtube.com/hoaxhunter. Live stream part 1. I'm going to have a part 2, and I'm going to go for at least 1 more hour. I know for a fact the spirits like it a little bit later. 1 more hour. Stay tuned. There's going to be another live stream. I'm going to reset the cameras, delete the cards, because we didn't capture too much evidence. And hopefully we can capture something. I thank you for watching. Stay tuned. This has been John Razimus. Be seeing you. With my luck, they're going to start going off the second I turn off the camera.